Well, that was Attack on Titan Season 4, Episode 21.
Why do I keep, like, feeling like laughing at the end of, like, these last couple episodes? And it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like one of those laughters that, you know how sometimes people, like, laugh when other people believe or perceive that they should be crying or something? Like, I'm just so shocked and, like, it's not that it's funny that is making me laugh, but that is the, like, visceral, that's the reaction that is coming out of me or feels like it's bubbling up. Like, I need to laugh about this.
It's so interesting because, like, I'm the opposite side of it. Usually you and I are pretty, in sync with our emotions, like, even out of the channel. But this is gonna sound so stupid, but the only thing I can compare it to is, you know how everybody grieves death in different ways?
Yeah, like some people laugh.
I like I'm that kind of person, right? Like the person who like makes a joke out of it to feel better. Right now, I feel like somebody pulled every ounce of like feeling out of my body, and I'm just this like blank carcass of disbelief that it happened. It's like you let me have this Attack on Titan. Like it happened. Like it's not smoke and mirrors. It's not any other like crazy plot twist pull out of nowhere. It's season 4, episode 21, and we have built our way here. We didn't know how or why it was going to happen, but we just watched Eren unleash hell onto the rest of the world. And I feel differently about it than I thought I would.
I feel, I know we've talked so heavily and all, of course, deserving in how we view this show and the writing of it to be amazing. And we've talked heavily about that. I feel really blessed in this moment. I am not one that finds it easy to relax and or kind of feel an absence of thought and feeling within my body.
Yes. Yeah.
And to feel that way, that numbingness in a positive way, I view it with this situation as a positive. And it feels really good to I want to just collapse and be like, oh my God. And, you know? Like,
I feel the same way. Which is really fucking weird for me to feel like, considering what just happened. It's
I know, considering, like, it wasn't positive or, like, happy content. It's something about it that, like, it zapped me of energy and feeling, and I am, like, numb. And when I laugh and I smile, it's because of the beauty of the writing. Obviously not necessarily the beauty of necessarily what is happening isn't like beautifully positive. So.
It is absolutely not a sense of relief, but I don't know what else to say. Like it's like it's
so hard to put into words.
I guess for the first time in this entire series, I have zero guesses as what happens next. Does that make sense?
I think on my end with that, I have zero guesses of what will actually be like the ending of the show. What is the story ending? What is the goal of the story, you know, that the author has put into place? Is it that Eren is going to completely get his way and everyone is annihilated? Or is the goal of the story for Eren to be stopped? You know, I don't know. And it's not for me to know, it's for me to watch and see. And I can't make a guess. Obviously, everyone was there at the end, kind of witness and hearing Eren's voice. And that does give you an energy that there will be some form of resistance, building of all of these people who will probably disagree with this let's kill everyone plan. There was the let's have Eldians, you know, cease to exist by cutting off the ability to have children. And then there's Eren over here being like, actually, why are we sacrificing ourselves? Like, let's kill everyone else.
Does killing everyone else, let's look at it in a different scope, a scope that we only could after this episode. Does killing everybody else, everybody except the Eldians, give Ymir a chance to finally rest, or no?
So how I view this is that this is the first time what Ymir wanted was for someone to not make demands of her, to not treat her as a slave and use her anymore. And Eren came to her being like, you have let me in on what you want, and I'm here to do it with you. And that's the vibe I'm getting, is that this isn't Ymir as a slave doing Eren's bidding. It is Ymir lending herself to Eren because they are one and the same common goal. That Eren is what Ymir was wanting. Ymir was tired of being a slave. Steal their freedom before they steal mine. And Ymir has been toiling and toiling with this, and it's been building in her, I'm sure, this resentment of being a slave, to the point that she would be pushed to needing someone who also just would do anything over being a slave.
Do you think when Ymir... After I ask this, I'd love to go through it from the start of the episode. Do you think Ymir, when she first had... Before she died, do you think she had the powers of the Attack Titan within her in the form of letting her see the future? Could she see Eren? Could she see a glimpse of Eren? Could Eren have manipulated her to see that? Did she just have the power to know that one day Eren was going to come because of the Attack Titan's power? Because obviously through Ymir, the power was divvied up.
She seemed to maybe be creating these Titans. And
she seemed to be creating every Titan like that, right? Like all the ones within the walls and everything.
Here's a question for you. When each new monstrosity, the king used monstrous, so I'm going to go with the word monstrosity in tandem. Do you think that maybe each Titan that was created that was of Ymir's design and or someone giving her the orders, make a Titan that's the tallest ever, make a Titan that's really this, and maybe the Attack Titan was the first she made for herself?
Maybe. That's a great guess.
And so maybe the Attack Titan was the last of the ones that she created, and maybe she created it because she wanted to. And maybe this was maybe it's one of those things where she was told by someone, hey, create a Titan that's really good at attacking or breaking through. And she was like, I'm going to use this. Like, I can use this. I'm still following an order, but maybe someday this Titan will, be something for me.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Do you remember what season we got the outro that it's here?
It's season... What season is this?
Season 2.
Season 2.
I just wanted to... Because now more than ever, holy shit, we have to,
go through this.
Okay, so starting up, we have the depiction that was in the book that Frida was reading to Historia, right? The whole devil of all earth, quote unquote, and this person, Ymir, giving the apple. We, once we get there in the episode, have to try to figure out how the depiction of the person who gave Ymir's their powers came to be and what influenced that. And if Ymir did have to give up something like her life there, if it was more than just some alien spinal sperm thing floating around, latching on, I don't know. But after we get that depiction, I feel like this whole entire outro was Ymir's plan or Ymir's life going into her plan.
Mm-hmm. She was constantly used in battle in fortifying the Eldian Empire.
This is the
was
depiction.
Then fed to her kids.
I have to say, any bit of pleasure I could have had of being like, oh yeah, I remember the exact moment in season 2, and Anna and I were like, 3 girls eating something that looks like a person, probably with Titan powers, definitely Maria, Rose, and Cinna. Every amount or ounce of joy that was potentially there was stripped away from me when I saw how brutal.
Just hacking her up.
It was it was when we first saw this depiction in season 2 outro. It was messed up.
It was gross, but it felt slightly more ceremonial. Even the garb that they're wearing seems a bit more ceremonial and regal, when really it seemed a lot desaturated and barbarically shown.
This looks awful in its own right. It looks like she's
displayed on an altar in this depiction, but then when we got it, she's just getting chopped up and put in bowls and shit.
Yeah. So when
there was something that seemed a lot more like there was some type of affection there,
Yeah.
maybe, in ceremonial aspect, some type of respect, maybe even. It looked like the body even maybe had some type of jewelry on it.
So what led Titans to be, I guess? Not the Titans that we know, like, people have the power to turn, but the power to turn Eldians into these Titans in the first place. I don't believe we saw Ymir do it.
Well, that's why I was wondering if the people of royal blood could keep demanding of Ymir to create Titans that could do certain things. And they could always make requests to her, the people of royal blood.
Yeah, maybe one of her children or a descendant there were the first people to turn people into Titans that were, you know, just mindless, like...
It had to be everyone after her, obviously. So everyone after Ymir's children and on, those are the people, the subjects of Ymir.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't surprise me that these are I could be wrong, so apologies. Was that the first King Fritz?
I guess.
Whoever...
I mean, unless it was a family name before that.
It wouldn't surprise me at all now that he's a person using this power for... he pillages and spreads this Eldian bloodline, like it, you know. In the outro season 2 here, we see people on like a castle's wall trying to fend off Titans. I wonder if that was a descendant of Ymir turning these Titans to try to help fight an enemy going forward. Maybe it's them trying to figure out how to work the power in the first place.
I have something maybe just worse than that. So we already saw that the depiction of the 3 daughters eating the mother was slightly off in terms of like kind of societal context of how it truly was or how it seemed. And it makes me wonder if this is the rumbling that we're seeing. And when we saw knights on, you know, on a wall, we were being shown it coded as something that would seem like it was the past when really it all has a filter on it, and this is about to happen.
You are very smart and probably correct.
It's just interesting to me that we just saw a shot that we now know had a filter on it to make it look like knights in shining armor kind of time period, like medieval time period. And what we got for reality does not fit the kind of time period that
it was
outro shows.
So you're suggesting that it was like a biased piece of history, as maybe this outro right now is it's what's to come.
Possibly.
In a different skin.
It's only because it was slightly different than reality that I'm
because you definitely do see like something that looks like the Colossal or those huge marching Titans. We didn't see any other like Titans that weren't colossal looking, correct?
Which is, it probably was when this originally, you know, when Fritz, the first one, I guess, the first King Fritz was like, let's pillage everywhere with our powers, and that's the whole reason Marley hated the Eldians to begin with. It probably was that. That's exactly probably what we were seeing. I just found it fun to make a theory since the kind of medieval filter that was on it, and almost like a Grecian filter towards the end too, with like the Titans kind of. It reminds me of like paintings, like Venus.
Yeah. Man, I'm so like thrown, you know. Holy, I thought that. Well, last episode was hard to digest, but this episode is holy crap, dude. Okay, so obviously Eren doesn't give a shit about his hands, right? Like he's like, if Ymir had to spend all these 2,000 years toiling away with her hands at work, I can at least sacrifice mine to try to stop her so that I can save my friends.
So, you know how in the opening, the Rumbling song, and there's a line that says, do it all for you too?
Yeah.
What if it's two as in also, and not two as in TWO, like Armin and Mikasa, and it's more like you two, like me and you, Ymir, Eren and Ymir?
Yeah. Once we get to the actual captions and the dialogue within that conversation, I feel like I might be able to throw out an idea or two in speculation. The idea of us seeing Historia here to connect it back to the Ymir storyline is really interesting because, like, obviously we get the whole founding Titan being here with Historia, right? And being somewhat of a great person to Historia, you know, caring, wanting to teach Historia manners, how to be ladylike.
And Ymir was probably around the same age as the Historia that we're getting in this depiction, and that they are similar in terms of appearance as well.
The choice not to show the pupils in Ymir, I think,
in that
is
like old
brilliant.
time period.
Yeah,
I like that it wasn't just. I mean, we got her earlier, and I was wondering about it, and then to go back in time and see that everyone was kind of depicted that way, I liked it.
Now,
there seemed to it created some amount of distance of this is the past that we're looking at. And I liked that it created a separation there.
I like that with the lack of saturation for sure. Part of me was like, what would it have been like if the only person's eyes who were like this the entire time was Ymir's? That being said, this line comes from Frida about Ymir. Obviously, I don't know how much Frida has access to Founding Titan-wise currently about what Ymir actually was like, or if this knowledge is just being passed down.
I mean, did anyone ever know what Ymir was like? If Fritz's ideals were the ones that were always pushed forward by the royal family, then I don't think... And Ymir couldn't talk. Ymir's tongue was cut out. Ymir could never tell anyone how Ymir really felt, even her children. So anything that the father figure, Fritz, pushed would be the narrative. Because... And that goes so well with, like, history being written by certain people, and, Well, there's the connection to Historia, right? Historia is literally the bridge between Eren and Ymir. That she's okay with being the most hated girl in the world. And, obviously, visual similarities, the whole, you know, when they decided to show us the Frida Historia again... and then to show us Historia in a very similar position to Ymir pregnant. Yeah. When, God, imagine Historia's going to have one child, and instead of 3 walls, we're just going to have one going forward in some fucked up loop. But, so Frida's talking about Ymir here, saying that she's always thinking about other people because she's so kind. That breaks my heart. It does, because she thought of other people because she was going to get killed. She didn't even do... None of the depictions of things we saw was her doing things for other people until she got the power. She was sacrificed. It's interesting. I'm trying to get a gauge because, like, obviously we see a little bit of Ymir before the village is pillaged. And it's her looking like they're... filling a bucket up for family or rest of the village. Grandmother, little kids, or some old lady that needs help. Yeah. I guess that could be a depiction of her helping others. But I guess that's the grandmother dead on the floor. Correct. Armin knows that kind of pain too well. The world is full of pain and suffering. Well, the tongue's getting cut out. Ah, man. Yeah, imagine. It's so fucked up that you're going to, for the rest of history, potentially, make up somebody's feelings for the sake of your own narrative. Yep. And that's just, there's a lot of fucked up things. It's just another one, but it's Ymir just sad. When we first heard of Ymir's story through history from different accounts from different places, Marley's accounts, Eldia's accounts, when we hear of Ymir, it was like this is what she wanted. She was this strong warrior queen, basically, is this energy that I got originally, was that this was her, like, she was running the show. And to learn that we don't even know, the only person that seems to maybe have any idea, viewer doesn't count, but viewer doesn't even know, is Eren. Eren knows more than anyone else could even have a clue on what Ymir thinks or feels. And maybe Eren is the only one that cares to try to listen and understand. Well, let's try ourselves, right? Because although we don't get words, we get something. We get actions. Somewhat. Obviously, she can't act how she would totally want to because she is a slave. So let's try to understand Ymir's feelings, okay? Right here, we have burning from the village that turns into ash. The ash then
cross dissolves basically into a wedding celebration for the king. And those petals falling cause, I believe, or could be a part in Ymir stopping what she's doing and looking at the ceremony. I believe when she's looking at the ceremony, she is like seeing how these people are, you know, just happy, period, at the same time that she sees that, like, the, you know, comparison between the ash for when her village was destroyed to the celebration now.
How can you, you're building a happy life on top of other people's ruin, basically. And she's like, she wants to be helpful and loved by everybody. And they show this wedding scene as if Frida's trying to tell us here that when Ymir was looking at this, she was like, I want to get married too. Like, bullshit.
Well, you wonder, like, what freedom this first wife had, if any.
Do you see the eyebrows?
That's what I'm saying.
This lady that is, it's probably the most beautiful slave of the village. It probably was the most beautiful girl that lived in that village that they pillaged. And he probably, oh, that rhymed. He probably has like 10 other wives, and they're probably the prettiest girl in all of the other villages that he has pillaged.
It was pretty great that we didn't know who let the pig out. But the whole, somebody's gonna lose an eye.
Mm-hmm. I knew, see, before we got the whole finger pointing, I was like, I wonder, I was still following Frida's narrative that she was painting, and I was still maybe thinking that that was the case and that Ymir was the type of person who, no matter what, wanted to help other people. So I thought she was going to volunteer herself, because I was like following along with Frida's narrative. And then when I saw what happened, I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be like totally listening to Frida's narrative anymore.
Like, I'm definitely overstepping here, just at the point of trying to understand this character's like emotions and what they could potentially be feeling. If you feel this, like, based off of the last scene, the marriage, right, the kissing, if you see that this person, especially if they were a fellow slave, being forced to marry, and this whole scene reminds you of the ashes of your once fallen village, I could imagine feeling extremely lonely, but at least having the solace that, yeah, you're slaves, but you're slaves together. Mm-hmm. And you have this fleeting hope. I know it's awful, but you at least have like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then you lose it all because you're ostracized and you are pointed out by the rest of the crowd, true or not, because I don't think it fucking matters, that this girl is going to be the one to be punished.
Right. It doesn't even matter what the reason was for her to be chosen. There are a lot of studies done on crowd dynamics. Crowds being willing to step in, like bystander effect. You know, there's like a bunch of psychology questions that go into what happens when a group of people are together. So it didn't feel like it needed to be any reason that she was necessarily selected. Someone having like a beef with her, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
I think it was just the fact that one person probably decided, oh shit, I need to pick someone. I don't want to get my eye taken. And then everyone probably followed suit after kind of one person chose to make the first step. And that one person was, obviously immediately trying to think of a way out of this situation, the most selfish reason, and it did not matter. She might have even been right next to them, and therefore she was the first person that they saw when they realized what was happening. And Ymir has been toiling and toiling with this, and Ymir has been toiling and toiling with this. And Ymir has been toiling and toiling with this.
And Ymir has been toiling and toiling with this